The letter, I am not Charlie Hebdo, and you shouldn't be either, posted on Syracuse.com, sparked a lively discussion with more than 250 comments with views about hate speech, free speech, and terrorism. In his letter to the editor, David W. Polimus makes the case that the right to free speech also comes with responsibility for the consequences for what you say. The French magazine where a dozen people were murdered by Islamic extremists last week is a hatred-filled periodical that hides its vitriolic biases under the guise of humor, he wrote. Words have great power and must be used with care and good judgment, especially when resorting to humor. It is not censorship when one is expected to use common sense, and if one does not use common sense, then one must live or die with the consequences, Polimus continued. Here's what some of the readers had to say about the letter. Some defended free speech as a right that can be fettered. 100% condemnation for these murders. 100% defense of free speech. There is nothing in between. There shouldn't be any limits on speech. The problem is limiting the reaction. Radical Islam will exist in a world of silence. If all speech in the world stopped tomorrow, these wacko murderers would kill people just because they refuse to adopt their insane beliefs. Many of the world's religions have evolved, but they all have their history of violent oppression. He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself. It becomes a free speech issue when any individual, group, or government attempts to limit the free expression of ideas or beliefs. The First Amendment provides protection over our government interference in expression. There is a broader issue at hand that needs to be discussed. The use of violence or terror to limit or prevent the free expression of ideas or beliefs cannot be tolerated. Others, however, said that words have consequences. Do we have the right to walk into a bar, walk up to a stranger and insult his mother? It's free speech, so I suppose we do. Should we expect to get punched in the nose for doing so? Absolutely. It should not be acceptable to respond to words with violence, but we know it will happen. So why use those words? This is the same thing on a much larger scale. The cartoonists made an insult. They got a response that is much worse than a punch in the nose. But they could have expected it. They could have avoided this by not insulting in the first place. I said this earlier. I am not justifying the shooter's actions. They should be punished severely. It sucks that this violence happened, but it was avoidable. I agree for the most part. Somehow human decency, mutual respect has been Constitution.